So, Jack, why don't you tell everybody listening a little bit about your acting career to date? What brought you here to Trinity?
Career is a strong word. My acting career. What brought me here to Trinity? What brought
We
me
can
here to
rename
Trinity?
the theatre for you
I
if
could
you
call
want.
it the Trinity.
The Trinity Theatre,
Yeah.
or you could just
like we're in Looney Tunes or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Trinity Theatre.
That's good.
So cycled back to 2000 and I think 16 is when I met Sean, who is directing the shows and is the artistic director of Trinity. We're renaming it.
We'll do Trinity.
I was at drama school and he was a graduate and had directed some things and came in to direct me in a show that we were doing as our third year, one of our third year shows. And I had a scene in it. I had one scene in it, and all of my lines were in French, and I don't speak French. And me and the guy that I was playing opposite were playing these sort of military commanders, and we had decided between us that it was going to be a comedy scene, smack bang in the middle of this very serious World War I drama play. Nice. So we did that, and so I think I got a bit of a reputation then as trying to be funny, I suppose.
Okay.
And at the same time as that, I had started writing. So I'd had a couple of shows on at Edinburgh, and I was about to write for a graduate show for the master's students. And so all of that was happening. And then once I graduated and I'd done a couple of sort of professional gigs, I got into an audition with Sean for The Play That Goes Wrong on the West End. So I joined that cast, and I was there from 2019 through to the beginning of the pandemic. And then in the pandemic, we took the show from the West End up to Bath, where it was tier 3, so theatre could still be on, which was a bit of a disaster, but we tried, and we did end up having some shows in the middle of the pandemic. You've got a wasp right by your hand.
How professional I am. I'm just carrying on.
It's great. You're just there. It's on your hat. It's all good. It's coming towards me.
It's going to be in the shot in a
minute. No.
So this is the beauty of these.
I know,
these videos, right? They're real.
Great.
It's authentic.
Attacked by a wasp.
We now
I wish
know.
I was like Barack Obama and I could like catch it.
Yeah, with
like
Jackie wings.
Chan. Yeah, like its wings off in midair.
Where were we?
So we were in Bath in the middle of the pandemic doing Play That Goes Wrong, and we ended up having the second wave, so all of that shut down. And then what happened was we were one of the first shows in June, the second summer of the pandemic. We reopened on the West End, and I did that until April this year. So I was doing that for a while. And since then I've sort of I've done I did a TV gig and a commercial just before starting rehearsals for this. So that's my acting career. And then in terms of the writing, I did, so when I was at drama school, it's quite a funny story. I was writing before, and I always wrote stuff when I was younger. But then when I was at drama school, a group of the students that were in my year had committed to doing a show up at the Fringe, and they were going to write it collaboratively. And if you've ever been in a group and tried to write anything truly collaboratively without a head writer, or a sort of a vague idea of a plot or a theme or anything like that, it just ends up being very difficult, and it's a very, very time-consuming process. It can be really amazing, and if you're lucky enough to be in a company like Complicite or something like that, where you can be really truly collaborative and have the space to do that and the time to develop shows, over many years or many months at least, then it can be an amazing thing. But these guys had like 4 weeks, and they got to the end of the 4 weeks, and they were just about to go up to Edinburgh, and they literally had nothing. So I had one show on that had won a competition, so it got staged. It was like a short play, and so they approached me and said, "Look, have you got anything, or can you write us something really quickly that we can take up to the Fringe?" So I did that for them, and then basically since then I wrote 3 more shows for the Edinburgh Fringe. I've written a show for Trinity Youth Theatre. I've written a show for the Hope Theatre, which was my first published play 100 paintings. Buy a copy now.
Nice.
And then I'm writing this. So yeah, so this is also getting published by Mousqueton, which is really amazing.
And this being the New Musketeers.
This is the New Musketeers. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm obviously in Miracle, where I'm playing Wallace, who's one of the actors in the Radio Lux company. I'm playing 4 or 5 different characters in that. So one of them's like a toddler, all the way up to Macy, who's like this old head of the sort of department store. And then in New Musketeers, I'm one of the writers, and I am playing Mousqueton, who is one of the servants who ends up having to pretend to be a musketeer to save the day.
Yeah. Great. So your highlight of your Trinity experience so far?
The highlight of the Trinity experience so far? Well, we had a lot of fun on the fight day. I thought that was really fun. I thought that was great because for so long, we've been writing the show since 2019, 20. So it's been a really long process writing the New Musketeers. So to go from writing a stage direction which says like they fight to being in a rehearsal room with all of the actors that we're going to do the show with, who are perfectly cast with swords and an amazing fight director, was amazing. It was great. It suddenly felt like it had come alive for the first time. So that was really amazing. But also just meeting everyone for the first time, and starting to read the New Musketeers and to do a read-through of Miracle, which we did as if we were the company, and we did it with microphone stands and everything like that. We just did it all the way through from beginning to end.
Nice.
Just off the page. So that was great as well. Just meeting everyone and honestly just being back in a rehearsal room. You know, for a few years we've had, theatre's really been struggling, and so it's just nice to see that it's alive and well, and we're making new stuff. It's really exciting, and the fact that we're doing 3 shows for Christmas is also, it's really out there. It's very unusual. It's a real challenge for us, but hopefully it's something that people will want to come and see, and then hopefully they'll come and see one show, and then they'll be like, oh well, maybe we'll come and see another one. So that's great. That's great as well.
Good.
Yeah.
Your most embarrassing stage moment of your career to date?
Oh well, I was playing Max on Play That Goes Wrong in the West End, and on my first entrance, my character comes on in the first scene, and he flies on stage, bursts through the door, and then he's basically on for most of the first act. And on the first entrance, I came in and I just heard this rip, and my legs had obviously flown back and torn my trousers completely in half, all the way down. And I think I was wearing I wasn't prepared, so I was wearing quite inappropriate pants. For the entirety of the first act, I basically did the show like this, and I couldn't turn around. Everyone on stage was like, "What are you doing?" And I would show them, sort of peel it back. That was very embarrassing. Yeah.
You would think to a certain degree that if anything was to go wrong, if you're doing the play that goes wrong, you're kind of a little bit off the hook.
Yeah. I think the audience can tell. Like if I was wearing really silly underpants, I think I would have embraced it.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if everyone wanted to see my left bum cheek.
Okay. Yeah, it was too much.
It was too much.
It's
a family show.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And again, just final question: if you were to sum up your character in New Musketeers in just like a sentence or two, what would it be?
I would say he's sort of like the classic he's like the classic character who doesn't want things to change, doesn't want to do things that he's not used to doing and that he's not supposed to do, but he's in a situation which forces him to become something that he really doesn't feel like he needs, but actually it ends up completely changing him and showing him a world that otherwise he wouldn't have been brave enough or courageous enough to see. So I think that's what my character is. I think that's sort of what his journey is through the show.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jack. We will, I'm sure, be seeing you again as part of these backstage, behind the scenes, meet the people involved.
And if my trousers rip,
yes,
you
know firsthand.
I'll know exactly where the camera is. So.
That this is not what's meant to happen in a New Musketeers. There's no trouser ripping scene. If it happens,
although you do see my pants.
Oh well, but
you do see my pants.
Not inappropriate pants.
No, and maybe that was inspired. Maybe that moment was inspired by a real experience.
Wow! So
this has been
this has been therapeutic.
Yeah, this is actually just catharsis for me.
Good.
The whole show is just for me to get some catharsis around this tragic experience.
Well, I'm pleased to help. Good.
Yeah.
See you again. Thank you, Jack.